Hello, I'm Howard Bentham and a very warm welcome to this OxLEP Business breakfast event launching the Business Investment Fund. What a great way to start the day by being told there is new money available for your business. The Business Investment Fund is new capital funding available to support Oxfordshire's innovative businesses following the global pandemic and any potential effects of Brexit. The Business Investment Fund is the latest initiative to be launched by OxLEP Business, recognising our commitment to supporting the Oxfordshire business community at this critical time. The £2.1 million capital fund is available to support your business with matched grants of up to £100,000. This will be focused in key areas such as the acceleration of investment plans, rebuilding and developing market opportunities, technology innovation, as well as supporting a transition to net zero. Through this funding, eligible Oxfordshire businesses will deliver great outcomes for the county's economy by boosting productivity and supporting the labour market. This new OxLEP business scheme is funded via the government's Getting Building Fund, designed specifically to energise our economic recovery. I'll introduce our guest speakers in just a moment, but we'd really like to hear your thoughts and be able to answer your specific questions during this broadcast. If you're with us live, very good morning and welcome, and please feel free to add your questions into the chat space on the platform. We'll have a dedicated question and answer section with all of our guest speakers towards the end of the presentation. Also, for matters that require further follow-up, a member of the OxLEP business team will be in touch at the close of the event. And if you're watching this as a recording, please get in touch via the website at oxlepbusiness.co.uk. OxLEP Business has an excellent track record of introducing a number of new and effective programmes and funds created to provide critical support. And OxLEP Business is determined to play a key role in ensuring that the county's businesses are able to run as efficiently as possible and remain productive both during the pandemic and beyond. Our first guest is Wendy Hart, who has previously been a partner at the Global Assurance Tax and Business Advisory Organisation, Grant Thornton. Wendy and her team were voted Corporate Financial Advisors of the Year in 2018 and once again in 2020 in the Thames Valley. She's over 3 decades of experience in deals, private equity funded transactions and management buyouts. She's a governor at Cokethorpe School in Oxfordshire and a non-executive director at OxLEP. And just this week is starting a new chapter in her career as a partner at HMT Corporate Finance in Henley-on-Thames. Congratulations on the new role, Wendy. Welcome. I think it was quite an eventful changeover, shall we say, into a new role.
Yes, it was. Yes. After several months of work, we closed a Grant Thornton deal yesterday, my first day at HMT, which was to sell an Oxford business, an Oxford biotech, to a Chinese acquirer for nearly £100 million, which is actually the biggest deal I've ever done. So yeah, it was quite a momentous day for me yesterday.
Fantastic work that is. I've only given the headline figures in my introduction about this new business investment fund. If you could fill in some more of the blanks, that would be really helpful.
Okay, no, happy to do that. So the fund is designed to support Oxfordshire businesses. So obviously businesses that are based in Oxfordshire, have operations in Oxfordshire, and it's designed for businesses that are inherently scalable. So one of the eligibility criteria is that a business has been running for 2 years or more. So it's not designed to fund startups, unfortunately, but relatively young businesses are still eligible. And really what the grant panel are looking for is that scalability criteria to be met. Apart from that, though, it's a pretty wide-ranging grant, which is available for a number of purposes, if you like. And so I think businesses should think imaginatively in how they might look to deploy it. It's a capital grant, so it's got to be used for capital spend, and it's designed obviously to fund projects that are twice as large as the grant amount. So £25,000 to £100,000 is the grant amount, but it's designed to fund projects of 50 to 200,000 with match funding, and that match funding can be revenue funding. So as a total package, those projects could be a combination of capital and revenue spend, which I think opens them up a great deal more. And you talked in your introduction about innovation businesses, but actually one of the things that I think the grant awarding panel is looking to do is to support perhaps conventional businesses, maybe businesses in the retail or corporate entertaining sector, perhaps, who can use this money to move their business models into a kind of post-pandemic environment. So although innovation is a byword, it is innovation in the context of industries other than purely innovation industries, which I think is an important nuance.
That's really interesting. I mean, we'll look in detail at eligibility in the next section of today's discussion, but in more general terms, try and give us a sense of how important this scheme could be to the private sector, particularly right now.
Well, I think what it creates is the opportunity to accelerate investment plans, to help businesses to sort of turn themselves around and think about how to come out of the pandemic, which now it seems that there is a pathway out of it, how they can accelerate progress out of that and use this grant to really help themselves move into the future. It's about creating sustainable jobs. It's about moving business models kind of into the 21st century. And it's about supporting businesses who perhaps have had a difficult time during COVID in terms of supply chain, technology enablement, all of the things that can kind of help a business move into the next post-pandemic period on a more sustainable basis, and using a capital grant which perhaps to do something that perhaps they couldn't use conventional funding or CBILS or one of the other sources of funding available to do.
I mean, a fund like this, try and give us an idea of what it could mean to a local business. You've touched on COVID, obviously, and that's affected everybody, but businesses equally rocked onto the back foot through Brexit, perhaps as well. This could be a real lifeline.
And it could be to it could be to accelerate a refurbishment of a property. It could to help it kind of reframe to respond to market changes. It could be a piece of capital kit that really transforms a business, and allows them to accelerate progress out of the pandemic. It could be businesses that have actually benefited from the pandemic, help them to really take advantage of that, whether that's investment in software, and just to say, if it is software, it has to be software that can go on the balance sheet. So it's just worth checking that out before applying for investment in software. But definitely it's on the agenda, and so there's a whole range of things that it could be useful. But the real byword is acceleration, innovation, and just helping businesses to recover and repair themselves and take advantage of the opportunities that are coming.
And importantly for the planet, Wendy, this is going to help businesses move towards a net zero carbon output as well. Just try and add a bit of detail to that.
Yeah, so that's absolutely on the agenda. I think it would be difficult to fund grant applications where they were, obviously not in the interest of the planet, and there will be, a favour will be given to those that move businesses towards net zero, which is an ambition of Oxfordshire and of OxLEP. So that's an important characteristic of these applications. I mean, clearly, it's not the kind of grant that we want people to be using to buy electric vehicles, but there are lots and lots of other things that it could be used for, which would help move a business towards a net zero environment.
Yeah, I mean, again, just trying to sort of drill down into a bit more detail there. I mean, we're talking potentially, say, a couple of £100,000 then, not for the match funding. On a practical level, what could that mean for a company to get to net zero?
Well, it could mean some, depending on the scale of the business. Clearly, it could mean some quite significant changes to their use of energy, to changing sort of energy sources within an operation. It could be, improving the insulation. There's lots of things that it could be used to do that would move in the direction of net zero, but also help business save money and improve efficiency. And I think, the more powerful grant applications will be those that tick more than one box here. There are a number of objectives for the fund, and I think, if it improves innovation, creates or sustains jobs and has a net zero impact, then that feels like that's going to be a really great application.
Because there'll be people watching this thinking, wow, yeah, well, your head might almost be spinning with this, because you can go in so many different directions. R&D for one, recovery plans, innovation, you've really hit home on. So I mean, it obviously doesn't just concentrate on net zero. So what would be your your wider message to businesses listening to this morning?
I think my wider message to businesses, as is always my message to businesses, is think in terms of your underlying strategy when you're putting your grant application together. The more compelling applications will be those where this is absolutely an accelerator or facilitator of a plan that was already in existence or already in your mind to deliver, and this just helps you to do it quickly. One of the interesting characteristics about this grant is that it is to be deployed quickly. It is not something that is going to sit in the bank account and wait for the perfect application. There's an imperative for it to be spent. That's what the government and what OxLEP want. But the more coherent the strategic argument for the grant is, I think the more compelling it will be, and that's certainly what I will be looking for. So think about what your strategy is and how this grant might help you facilitate your strategy, rather than coming at it from the, oh, here's some money, what might I spend it on?
That's really interesting. Wendy, I know we're going to speak again shortly, but for now, many thanks to Wendy Hart from HMT Corporate Finance. Wendy's going to be back to answer some of your specific questions towards the end of the broadcast. If you're watching this live, please keep posting your questions in the chat space on the platform already. There are quite a few up there, which we'll go through shortly. The question and answer section with all of our guest speakers taking part should hopefully deal with the majority of your queries. If there are points that will need a little more detailed research, then a member of the OxLEP business team will be in touch after the event. And if you are watching this on catch up, please get in touch via the website at oxlepbusiness.co.uk. Now, as Wendy alluded to, and I did at the start of this, the government's Getting Building Fund investment will support a number of emerging clean energy projects in the county, creating hundreds of new jobs in the process. OxLEP Business's provision of critical support has allowed many amongst our business community to become more agile and flexible, whilst also encouraging greater levels of business diversification in light of COVID-19. Our next guests are key members of the OxLEP business team. Delighted to have with us Helen Brind and Richard Bayard. Helen is the Growth Hub Manager at OxLEP Business. Helen has been with OxLEP for just over 3 years and comes with a background in managing growth in the banking and educational sectors. She's also a proud alumna of Didcot Girls' School. And Richard is Director of Business Development at OxLEP. He has got over 30 years experience leading businesses to succeed, and he oversees the OxLEP skills and business teams. Welcome to you both. Helen, let's concentrate on criteria here and the types of businesses that are eligible for this funding. There are key criteria to be aware of, aren't there?
Yeah, morning, Howard. Thank you, and thank you everybody for joining us this morning. Yeah, so I guess in terms of, you asked me about the types of businesses that are eligible. I guess it's less about the types of businesses and more about the impacts that we're looking for, which Wendy has already alluded to earlier. So grants are available to existing businesses, as we've said, and it's about demonstrating economic benefit within Oxfordshire and providing the applicants really meet those criteria we're looking at, which we've talked about before, and we'll go into a bit more detail in a minute. But it's about looking at a desire, as Wendy's talked about sustainable job creation, a drive towards increased R&D and product development, and really just thinking about a need to successfully transition their business to net zero carbon emissions and adoption of new energy systems within low carbon footprint. So, we're not looking for specific types of businesses, but we're very much looking for organisations that have those impacts in mind. And you did ask. Sorry,
go on. No, please continue.
And I was just going to say, you asked me about criteria, which I will go into in a bit more detail shortly, but it really is, as Wendy said, just looking at those businesses that have been trading in Oxfordshire for at least 2 full financial years, so from at least the 19th of March 2019. The core thing about this is the criteria is about being able to match, so we're looking for 50% match against each of the projects. This one will probably, lots of people will understand this, but enterprises not received in excess of 325,000 euros SDR de minimis state aid within a 3-year fiscal period, and that's a key one for us. And again, what Wendy was talking about, you know, this isn't money that can sit in the bank, and that all claims will have to be defrayed by the 31st of December 2021. So it's quite a quick turnaround in terms of the project.
Richard, there'll be people watching thinking, now I'm not sure if these criteria apply to me or not. Obviously, the devil, as ever, is in the detail, isn't it? I guess that's where OxLEP can help.
Yeah, absolutely. Good morning, everyone. This is about strategic positioning of the company and ensuring that the grant can be used probably for 3 aims: to facilitate growth and to facilitate acceleration for new technologies, to enable growth and integration of new technology and things like Industry 4.0 outcomes, and really to drive productivity enhancements. And I think it's important for businesses to understand the scope of the opportunity, and to really to fit that within the range of business support measures that we offer from OxLEP. This clearly, as both Wendy and Helen have articulated, is a significant grant opportunity. It's capital grant opportunity, but there are other support measures that we have, such as escalate and innovation support for business grants, and also a range of one-to-one support. So it's part of a package of opportunities for businesses. But I would absolutely encourage, and hopefully that message has come through already loud and clear from Helen and Wendy. This is not just for innovative businesses. This is for businesses of all sectors, in all types, who can meet the core criteria of the fund. So please don't sit there and think, well, this isn't for me. Have a look at the FAQs. Have a look at the guidance. Be creative, and if it's for you, then we'll set out the next stage moving forward. But I would absolutely encourage businesses to approach this with an open mind and just think, and certainly not to think, no, this isn't for me. Actually flip it and say, okay, well, how can I maximise from this opportunity?
Helen, I think it'd be worth drilling into a bit of detail here about the key business areas that this fund is looking to support.
Yeah, I'll give you some examples. I think sometimes it's easier to bring it to life.
Yeah.
So, for example, things like EV charging infrastructure, energy systems, renewal replacement, where these can't be funded elsewhere. As you can imagine, we went live with this a few days ago, and we're already getting inquiries. So, for example, we've had an inquiry about electrical charging points for vehicles on business parks. Things like digital design, data analytical capability for inventory and supply chain management, software and or licenses relating to any of these activities. The key thing for that is where this can be capitalised as an item. Things like laboratory space renovation, refurbishment equipment, new capital items such as 3D printers, and looking at, when we talked a little bit about retail, you know, retail structural enhancements, electric point of sale, digital systems, computerized, etc. You know, look, we know that a number of businesses have pivoted their business during lockdown, and just looking at what else we can do to support them through that way.
Those are really key areas, and obviously the great thing to think about that there, if you are suddenly putting in a whole load of points to charge up electric vehicles, that needs people to do it. The knock-on effect of this, Helen, actually the ripple effect right through the economy is huge.
Yeah, absolutely massive. And if you think about where we've put in terms of some of our requirements, you know, around job growth, around new projects, around just really helping people move forward their business and moving into a different place in terms of economy for Oxfordshire.
Yeah, so it's all really positive news, isn't it, Richard?
Absolutely.
With the profile of businesses in Oxfordshire in mind, and reflecting on this new financial help that's now available, will it put local firms at an advantage as we begin to return to normality?
Certainly hope so. That's the intention of this fund. But it's important to note within the UK PLC context, because each LEP has received an allocation of getting building fund, and each is deploying it differently. And we've taken this approach really to try to support businesses to move into economic recovery and then through into economic renewal. And you know, certainly from a LEP perspective, our role is to drive and support economic growth and prosperity. and we see this fund very much being at the heart of that, and as said previously, one of a suite of support measures that we deploy. But I think it's important to know and to recognise, Helen alluded to it in the earlier answer, there are numerous benefits that this fund can bring, and it is about sustained employment. It's about creating new employment opportunities, but also where it can be evidence that the fund will support the retention of employment opportunities. It's about productivity enhancements, which ultimately will drive increased profitability and revenues. It's about obviously contribution towards net zero. Of course it is, and absolutely, as Wendy alluded to earlier, that is very much a core focus of this particular fund. But again, I perhaps go back to my previous answer in terms of this fund is sector agnostic. So it could be used, for example, to support a visitor economy business looking to integrate digital technologies into supply chain management, for example, at one hand. Equally, it could be used for a space and satellite company looking to develop new technologies and thermal imaging for carbon capture technology. So it really is, and we set it deliberately to be as accessible to all businesses, all sectors as possible. But it does go back to thinking creatively, reading the rules of engagement, understanding the guidance and the FAQs, and then having that very much questioning in terms of and being able to evidence how this can support my company's strategic growth ambitions moving forward.
Perhaps both of you can give us your view on this. I mean, there will be businesses now thinking, okay, I don't actually tick the relevant boxes here. So what should businesses do if they find out they're not eligible for the fund? Give us a flavour of what other current support is available to businesses. Helen?
Absolutely, thanks, Howard. So Richard has already touched on this to some degree, but we have a number of business support programs available. Richard touched on our innovation support for business plus our escalate program, and they're very much focused on commercialising innovation and scaling and about social enterprise. And through those schemes, we offer a series of additional grant opportunities, a series of webinars and one-to-one support. But more recently, during the pandemic, we did enhance our Growth Hub offer, and that's included our online triage tool, which we encourage businesses to take the opportunity to just 10 minutes to go through that triage tool, and it asks specific questions about what businesses are looking to focus on, some of the challenges they're experiencing at the moment. And from there, we provide a personalised business support plan, which will signpost those organisations to the support we offer, whether that's one of our, whether it's ISFB or escalate programme, or that more generic support in terms of business planning and really shining a light on a business and maybe trying to do things a little bit differently. And through that, we offer a series of webinars. We've hosted a huge amount of webinars since July. We've supported a number of businesses through one-to-one support. But some of the more interesting stuff we've done, we started a startup club, which has proved massively beneficial, because obviously Wendy talked earlier about this isn't necessarily for startup. We are looking to support those startup businesses. We've just been running a series of peer networks programs, which will continue into the new financial year. And more just recently, we've just started an entrepreneur club, which is interesting because we launched and within 2 days we were full. So there is a series of support there for people if they want to, and the best way of doing it is to go through the triage tool to find out what we're doing and what support we can offer.
Anything you want to pick up there, Richard? Wendy's covered a lot of ground, but the support is so broad, and the help really is there from OxLEP, isn't it?
It is, absolutely, and we're very conscious, obviously, that many businesses are struggling. It's our role to support as many businesses as we can through these challenging times, move them through from economic response stage into recovery and economic renewal, as said. And all that forms part of our economic recovery plan, which is very much looking at the short-term challenges that businesses are facing. So probably over the next 24 to 36 months, but also not losing sight of our local industrial strategy ambitions of Oxfordshire very much being a top 3 global innovation ecosystem. So we have got a range of support available that really covers all of those opportunities. And it's important to note as well, Helen mentioned the triage tool. That's been incredibly invaluable in businesses understanding and trying to perhaps take that strategic step back and just that little bit of time to help them understand some of the key challenges they face. Now, one of the most frequent answers within that triage is around leadership and management, and we do offer skill support through for businesses as well through our ESF program. So we have really got a very rounded set of support measures that will help businesses through economic recovery, into renewal and into growth. And what we try to do, and we're very conscious of, is to use these webinars, use these platforms to articulate the messaging, but also to make it as simple as possible. We are absolutely conscious that business it should be, and quite rightly, is focused on doing business and ensuring that the business runs effectively. We're here to help that process. We're not here to get in the way of that process, and we're absolutely clear that our role is to facilitate and enable business support and business growth, and that's our core mission.
Just before we field some questions from the floor, as it were, Helen, give us a call to action. What should Oxfordshire's businesses do next to get their hands on the money we're talking about this morning?
Yeah, absolutely. So our website will be updated this morning with all the relevant information. We have got a guide to the grant scheme. We've got a Q&A section which people can look at, and so people can understand the process. I would encourage people to sign up for our grant workshop, which we're running on Friday. That workshop will take people through the process. It will bring to life how to apply and some of the things people might want to be thinking about when they apply. We're going to be recording that as well, so that will be put up onto the website. But I would really, having run a number of grant schemes now since I've been here for 3 years, I just encourage people to really look at the information that's on there. Strongly recommend reading the guidance notes and the accompanying FAQs. That's the way to do it. And in terms of the process itself, just thinking about making sure this is about projects that you probably haven't started, but this is about something that's new, that's maybe been bubbling in the back of your mind, but really thinking through the guidance.
Brilliant. Let's just welcome back Wendy Hart into the discussion to share the screen alongside Richard and Helen from OxLEP Business. And also joining us is OxLEP's communication manager, Rob Panting, who's been collating the questions that you've been posting in the chat space for our expert panel this morning. Rob, it's fair to say there's been a lot of interest in the Business Investment Fund launch so far. Give us a flavour of what people are saying.
Thanks, Howard, and morning, everyone. Yeah, it's certainly been one of our more popular breakfast events that we've held since COVID hit. So thank you, everyone, for all your support. Yeah, we've had a number of questions sent through to us. I guess just to reassure people, if we're unable to answer the questions during this particular session, we will absolutely pick them up post session and come back to you with some specific answers. I've tried to group questions together where I can. There are some, I guess, more detailed questions that we will have to come back to delegates on. First question is really asking for a little bit of clarification when we talk about capital funding and revenue funding. In its simplest terms, are we able to clarify what we mean by that? Richard, can I throw that one to you to start with?
Yeah, absolutely. So in its simplest terms, capital is kit. It could be as said 3D printing technology. It could be electronic point of sale. equipment. It could be ground heat source pumps, etc. So something physical. And perhaps I'm slightly old school, but when I was starting out, somebody described capital to me as something you plug into the wall. Now, I'm not sure that we still do that in the same way, because obviously it's wireless, but think about it, it's something that you can plug into the wall or draws power or similar, whereas revenue is very much about salaries and the cost associated with perhaps salaries and with people. In its broadest sense and its simplest sense, that's the definition between the two.
Excellent, thanks Richard. A few more coming through now. I'll probably throw this open to both Helen and Wendy. Feel free to chip in as you see fit. The question is looking at other funding opportunities too. So should businesses have either secured a previous funding opportunity or indeed in the process of securing a funding opportunity, is this something that can be used alongside those funds, i.e., for example, an Innovate UK funding opportunity?
Yeah, sorry.
Helen, you
Thanks, Wendy. I'm assuming that question is about using it as match.
Yes, I presume so, yes.
Yeah, we just need to look at where the funding is coming from, I guess. We need to think about where the source of the original funding is in terms of public monies, etc. So we need to look at that individually, but case by case is the best way of looking at that rather than giving it a blanket approach.
Excellent, thank you. Howard, do you want me to throw a question over to you?
Yeah,
as well? I think it might have been touched on previously with regards to eligibility.
Absolutely. It'd be worth reiterating. I think Helen did talk about this in detail. When I picked up, where can I find the specific eligibility criteria for the fund? You did mention about details on the website, Helen, but there's more than just that, isn't there?
Yeah, absolutely. So as I said earlier, we've got the grant guidance, which for anybody that's applied to us for a grant before will be quite familiar with that as a process. We've already done a set of live Q&A questions that people can look at. It will be on the website, but I still really urge people to at least try and log on to register for the event on Friday, or if they can't register for the event, then we'll download as soon as we finish that on Friday, and that will hold the criteria and eligibility, and it's quite clear on there what can and can't be applied for. And I guess the key thing for me, which has already been mentioned, is about, this is different for us. So those that have applied to us for grants before, we're looking for expression of interest this time as part of the initial part of the process, which normally we go straight into an application. So it's expression of interest. Really think about what you're putting in there in terms of the detail. Make sure you cover as much as possible, because that will govern the start of our due diligence process before we go invite people in for a full application. That's how it's quite different to our normal grant applications.
Okay.
Back to me, Howard. So yeah, I guess a couple of questions for Wendy in particular. One that's come in: how welcome do we feel, or how do we feel this fund should be received by the private sector at the moment? Is it a welcome new addition to Oxfordshire businesses?
Yeah, I mean, I think any funding that doesn't require paying back is by definition a gift, isn't it? So I think, as I say, if people have plans that this capital grant will facilitate, then absolutely, I think it's an enormously attractive opportunity, and given it is quite broad in terms of eligibility and the criteria that we're looking for. So there's many things it can cover, and I think, as I say, people should really think about how it might be used in the strategy they were already thinking about.
Excellent, thanks, Wendy. And then a few more questions. They keep coming in, which is great news. I think this may have been touched on earlier by Helen in terms of the other programs that we have available through OxLEP Business, but there's a specific question around are charities and social enterprises able to apply. I think, Richard, earlier on you did talk about actually we welcome applications or expressions of interest from all sectors. So I guess probably just to clarify that point in terms of how we're very keen to hear from multiple sectors.
Yeah, absolutely. A charity, social enterprise is a business, and ultimately this is a business investment fund. They will be very welcome to apply. They'll be judged by the same criteria and eligibility as all other businesses. Yeah, but absolutely, if this can provide a strategic leg up for a social enterprise to scale up and grow, absolutely, this is very much the right fund for them to look at. Equally, again, just staying with the theme of the question, our Escalate programme is very much targeted towards social enterprises and charities as well. So I'd encourage the person who posed the question just to understand the opportunities of the Escalate programme as well, because that's very much targeted towards charities and social enterprises.
And Rob, just adding to that what Richard's just said, we will be encouraging all grant applicants to engage with us in terms of the additional support. We've done that on all our other programmes. So we've done 2 other grant schemes this year, and we encouraged all applicants to go through the online triage tool. I'll give you an example of our business resilience scheme that we launched in May last year. We encouraged all 852 applicants, so that was a very heavily wow. Yeah, it was a huge scheme. We expected about 450 applicants. We got 852 against a budget of 800,000, and we got the value of the applicants was 9.2 million. So slightly out, but it was a great scheme, and we encouraged all applicants to go through the triage tool, and we supported nearly enough 500 people through our additional programmes. I think it's really important to add that there is other opportunities, and we will encourage people through that route so we can support where we can.
Great, thanks, Helen. I'm conscious that we're probably moving towards brunch territory now, as opposed to the breakfast event that it is. So a couple of, I guess, logistical questions to finish off with before we hand back to Howard for the close. So again, probably open to all panel members. How will the funding be allocated if my business application is successful? And then I'll throw in the second one. Do we have to wait for the grant before a business can start on a project? So I guess some further information with regards to time frames. So
when you say allocate, yeah. So when you say allocate, I assume you mean if one's under successful.
I presume so, yes.
Yeah, okay. So the way this scheme will work will be like other schemes that people may have engaged with. We will go through. Actually, let me take a step back. In terms of the process, one of the great things, so Wendy's here with us today. Wendy is chairing a group that we've convened to help us with this scheme. So that task and finish group have helped us create the programme and the criteria and the eligibility and the processes, and they will be working with us in terms of the decision making, which I think is a great step forward for us in terms of different people from different sectors across the county. Once that group have met and the recommendations have been made for the applications and people are awarded, individuals will get something called a grant offer letter, which states what we require from them, how it will work, the expenditure plans, etc. And then funding will come in 2 stages. It will be up to a two-stage claim process. We ask people to complete the usual claim form, and we would defray the funds back to that organisation. What we will be looking for is proof of that expenditure. So there's no claim will be made without that proof of expenditure. But as I say, it's a 2-stage process. For all claims will have to be finalised and defrayed by the 31st of December. So it is a really quick scheme for us for such big grants.
Any further points to add there, chaps and ladies?
I think just to stress,
good. Thank
absolutely, the timing of this is quite critical. So expressions of interest by the 19th of March, which isn't that far away, a couple of weeks, and again, as part of the scoring criteria, the ability to spend the grant quickly will be a key determinant, because we need to get this this grant defrayed by the end of the calendar year. So speed of the ability to move the money through the various grants will be absolutely key to that. But yeah, we'd absolutely encourage those on the call and those who are watching on catch up just to think about it, think about the opportunities this grant can bring to accelerate business growth, to accelerate and help your business move forward, and to maximise the opportunities for Oxfordshire. It's a really great opportunity.
Brilliant. Thank you, everybody, and thank you all for watching and for your excellent input into our Q&A section at this OxLEP Business Breakfast launch of the Business Investment Fund. If there are further points you want to raise, then do get in touch with the team at oxlepbusiness.co.uk. Thanks once again to all our contributors, Wendy Hart from HMT Corporate Finance, and to OxLEP Businesses Helen Brind and Richard Byard. And thanks to Rob Panting for collating your questions. As we've mentioned, there is a webinar being held on Friday, the 5th of March. That's this Friday, if you're watching this live. The focus will be how to create an effective business investment fund application. The details are at oxfordshirelep.com. That's this Friday, 5th of March at 12 noon. Well, we said it at the OxLEP annual event back in November, and we can repeat it again now. There has never been so much help available for the business community in Oxfordshire, so please use it. Match funding of up to £100,000 could potentially transform your business. It could give it the kickstart it needs to rise from these incredibly dark times we've all endured during the global pandemic. And remember, the team at OxLEP Business are here to help you every step of the way. With spring very much in the air, the crocuses and daffodils in flower, and dare I say it, the weather starting to warm up, it really does feel like we're turning a corner, not just from the depths of winter, but from this latest lockdown and the difficulties it's brought for businesses in Oxfordshire and beyond. The vaccine rollout and the prospect of us all getting our lives back on track is starting to feel very real indeed. Today's announcement of the Business Investment Fund for Oxfordshire is another positive step in the right direction. I do hope that you're able to take up that help. So thanks once again for being part of this OxLEP Business Breakfast event and for all your questions. But for now, from me, Howard Bentham, stay safe and goodbye.